Welcome to Real Kiwi Fishing. This week, Pea and I, we're back down off the bays on a surf cast, but this time we're down on one of our high tide spots. Now what we did this afternoon, we had a dead low at about 1 o'clock, and we got a high tide around that 6:30 tonight. So we decided to come down here at about lunchtime. We actually went out, scouted around, had a good look around, and we dropped some berley. So Pea and I, we've come down to the spot that we're going to be fishing tonight, and there's a couple of things I thought would actually show you. Now I see a lot of pictures sometimes on Facebook, shots like this, just flat areas, a little bit of rock, and there's always the question, will you actually catch fish there? Now obviously you can. Me and Pea catch fish here, and it's on that flat on the high tide. So obviously on the low tide we fish it also along the bay here, walk out to the ledges, but on the high tide basically that's where we're fishing, on this flat area. The snapper, they're coming in for cat's eyes, crabs, shrimps and all sorts. So you know, that answers the question. Yes, you catch fish on this kind of area, because me and Pea have. There's a lot of guys say, oh, you'll never catch fish there, waste of time, not deep enough. That's not the case. As long as there's food there, and really end of the day it's good just being out there actually fishing. Now also what we're doing is we've come down here on this low tide and we're going to drop some berley. So I've got a big bag of pallets. Pea's got some pallets down there, and what we're going to be doing is we're going to be dropping these pallets along the coast here, and by the time the tide comes in we're fishing up here on that high tide down into where all this berley, where we're dropping this berley. So there's a couple of good things to come down here on the low tide, and that's to check out where you're going to be casting on that high tide. Might want to drop a bit of berley and stuff like that. But also me and Pea fish this area quite a lot, and we move up and down the coast, and over time you get to forget your actual spots, where the holes are, where the rocks are that you're going to get snagged up on. So we like coming down here every now and then and relining up on the cliff face, you know, our spots. So if it's good out here, we line up here on the hill, on the cliff, a tree or a rock. And I've actually put a marker on some of the clay up there as well, an arrow. So when we come down tonight, we know where we've dropped the berley, but also where the flat area is, and you're not fishing in amongst those rocks and weed and getting caught up. The other downfall that does happen sort of along the bays, get a lot of people collecting up the cat's eyes and the kinner and the mussels that grow along the bay here, and that actually, you know, causes a bit of frustration for us fishers from the land. It's just basically taking away the fish food, and the only way I can put it is if you got two refrigerators, one full of food, one empty, and it's always like that, you get to know what fridge to go to. So, you know, I just think once you deplete the food that the fish feed on, they know not to come back in that area. So it gets a little bit frustrating when you see people sort of lined up along the coast here, collecting up even the cat's eyes. You know, that's why the fish are in here. But yeah, hopefully we get into a few fish tonight. So let's get some berley out. So what I'm going to do, it's got a couple of rocks, little rocks down here. There you go, there's some crabs and stuff in that little rock hole there already. That's why the snapper come in. Now as that tide comes in, it'll just swirl around all that and that'll break up over time. I'll actually throw out some handfuls out into the water as well. So just find those little pockets of rocks, sit down in there. Hopefully the birds won't come along. But that tide's rising now. So we've pretty much set up for tonight. Got the berley in a few different areas. Got about a 50-60 meter stretch, and fingers crossed we get into a few fish. We had quite a strong sou'wester today. It's dying away, but along the bays here at our spot we've got a big cliff face behind us, and it's blocking all that wind. A little bit of a breeze every now and then, but it's pretty much behind us. Helps us get our baits out, especially for Pea with his no sinker. Try not to move your bait around too much, especially if you're using a little ball sinker and amongst the rocks and weed, it gets sort of snagged up. So all I'm doing is just winding up that little bit of slack. It's pretty quiet at the moment, but normally along the bays here you don't really get anything till just on dark or after dark. But we do like getting down here a little bit early, getting the smell of the bait around, and it's always something to do anyway. Don't have to catch fish to enjoy yourself flicking the line out. But yeah, pretty quiet at the moment. Might do a little bit of a shift. We put the berley out sort of along 100 meters area, so we've got sort of 100 meters to work with. Pea's down on a flat area. It's just pure flat with a little bit of that bubble seaweed on a big shelf. So he's got a floating bait at the moment. And I'm just on a sort of a similar area, but it drops away in a little hole with a bit of weed. And further down this way, there's a lot more rock. So you've got a lot more cat's eyes and kinner and crab, but obviously a lot more, you know, getting your line stuck, snags and stuff. So sometimes it's worth, you know, having to go get a couple of snags, but you also end up with a couple of fish. So I might just have a shift down there. It's only about 20 meters, and have a flick out in amongst those rocks and see if there's anything around down there. Always pays you to sort of shift along. Don't think, oh, just because you're catching nothing here, there's nothing 10 meters or 15, 20 meters further down. some reason fish just come in and mooch around in an area. Like I was saying before, there's a lot of people, or there used to be a lot of people collecting those cat's eyes and kinner and mussels in this area, and it's actually cleaned out a lot. A lot of that food that the fish come in for, so you know, you just never know, they might not come back in here because there's no food for them. But hopefully that berley will do the trick. So it's just starting to get dark. Got the moon up, it's pretty much a full moon, and the bites are just starting to happen, and that's how it normally happens along the bays here, and that's why we always come down a couple of hours before dark. Don't expect too much, and then we get the fish during the dark. So hopefully that happens tonight, but won't get too much more filming in probably. Fish are really coming on the bite now, getting a heap of bites as it normally does down here on the bays, dark. A lot of little stuff, but a few nice grabs just coming through. Now I've missed a few, so what I've done is I've gone to a keeper hook, so I'm running 2 hooks. And I'm still running my little ball sinker. Thanks for watching another great day out fishing with Real Kiwi Fishing. And you can also find more of my movies on my YouTube channel, Real Kiwi Fishing.